All right, so far in our haunted Boise tour, we've taken you to a cemetery, a theater, an old hotel. These are all places that one could look at and say, yeah, I could see how that might be frequented by phantasms. But today, maybe a place you might not expect. Hauntings, for believers, are usually the outcome of some untimely or morbid death, or several of them. Well, today's installment, just to warn you, isn't born out of something that happened generations ago. It's not about pioneers here in the Boise Valley, but it's actually fairly recent. And the stories that we learned about what may be happening in one Boise bench bar, well, those are pretty fresh too. From the outside, McCleary's pub seems like any other saloon squeezed into a strip mall. But inside, there's a lot more to this Boise bench bar than meets the eye.
Yes, McCleary's has stories for sure, 100%.
They have tales of hearing things, strange feelings.
Those tales tell of a time when McCleary's wasn't yet McCleary's.
No, it was in 1990, it was a brand new pub called the Rose Pub.
On the night of December 19th of that year, a heavy snow began to fall, and Rose Pub bartender, 20-year-old Brandy Rains, got permission to close early. Helping her do that was 23-year-old beer distributor John Justad. Also in the bar that night was 27-year-old Keith Wells, who either came in while they were closing or was already there when they decided to close.
It's kind of a convoluted story because he told so many lies, but essentially she started to count the money before she was going to close up shop, and so John stayed behind to make sure she was safe.
What happened next has also been told two ways. Either Keith tried to rob the bar and took Brandy and John to the back room, or Keith followed John to the bathroom and beat him over the head with some sort of blunt object.
They never find it, but he knocks them unconscious and then he drags them to the back room and basically left them there to die.
Wells would be caught 4 months later, convicted and eventually executed. And the Rose Pub would eventually become McCleary's. But depending on who you ask, the memory of the brutal double murder isn't all that remains.
People have told me here that they're not frightened of the entities or whatever might be here.
But there are?
But there are.
But it's where you never feel like you're completely by yourself.
You know, it's like something falls down, you know, you hear a broom fall over or something, and you kind of look around in there, and there's no broom that fell over.
I'm Sarah Hoops.
And you worked here?
13 years.
For the first 5 years, Sarah worked nights.
So I was by myself in the building a lot, and you know, you'd be sitting here doing your books, concentrating on money, and you'd hear like a bang or something from the back, and you know you're the only person in here because you've already checked the bathrooms, you've already gone through everything, and then you're hearing noises.
But noises aren't the only thing Sarah says she's heard.
Just voices. I mean, nothing like aggressive where they're screaming, just like a random, like, I think I just heard someone, I better double check the bathrooms. And you go back there and no one's there.
But it's usually in the back.
It's always back there.
Which would make sense for those who believe in such things. But for skeptics, it could just be bad plumbing.
You know, yeah. Or it could be something else. You know, you never know.
Keith Wells was on probation for robbery when he committed that double murder, and he pulled back his appeal on his death penalty because he said he would rather die than spend life in prison, which is why his executions came so quickly after his conviction. Okay, so as for the possibilities for the noises being heard in McCleary's, you know, after all, it is a bar. They have an ice machine. They got one in the back. They got a pinball machine in the front. And they also have dishwashers. So even those that work there say it could be anything. But the people that work there, they're not quite convinced there are ghosts. But as you heard Gene say, and he told us, it's possible.